Relationship advice. Update. My girlfriend, female 21, confessed that she used to get with married men and doesn't feel bad about it. Original story. I have been with my girlfriend for a year. Everything was perfectly okay before this, no red flags or anything like that, as she is the sweetest and most innocent person ever. So I thought. She doesn't use Reddit, so I just came here for advice. Yesterday, she got drunk and started confessing some things to me. We were watching a movie on Netflix about a student getting with a teacher, and she out of nowhere confessed that she had slept with her high school teacher after she finished school. She added on that he was married and she didn't feel bad or anything like that. She said it so calm and did not seem to care, probably because she was drunk. I was kind of in shock and asked her if she felt bad. She said no, that she's actually been with another married man after this man, and casually said that it was exciting that she was able to get with married men. After this, she fell asleep and went to work this morning and everything seemed normal to her. I don't think she even remembers telling me. I am so disgusted, and I really thought I knew this girl, but I am unsure of what to do. Can I even get upset over this? I've been thinking about breaking up with her, but I don't know if I'm overthinking it. Her lack of morals disgusts me, and I don't even know how to approach this. Any advice/thoughts would be appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Well, she was perfectly fine with them cheating on their wives. What are her morals in cheating herself? Is it exciting to be a cheater? If you don't think you can trust her anymore, then by all means judge her for her past and break up with her. I'm guessing it's a power trip for her, an ego boost. That these men were putting their entire lives and families on the line simply to be with her. But she was trashed. People rarely express themselves well when hammered. Personally, I'd question her on the topic when sober. Just to repeat what she said and see how she reacts. If she shrugs it off, I think that's a huge red flag. If her morals regarding this don't align with yours for something like this, I would definitely say it's a deal breaker and end it. Of course, I would ask her about it when she's sober first. Try not to trip on the giant red flag. She gets off on the thrill of men putting their marriages on the line for her. She is definitely not marriage material. She whipped out that flag and slapped him with it. I would find it hard to trust someone who has affairs with married people and had no remorse, especially if I felt serious enough about the relationship and was considering marriage. I feel like people are really focused on the fact that you shouldn't hold someone to their past, which is fair. But if girlfriend admitted that she got with her high school teacher after graduating, 17 to 18 years old, continued being with married men, and she's 21 now, we're talking about a 3-year window, which arguably isn't a lot of time to learn from it. Of course, she doesn't feel remorseful. It's potentially still happening. I personally would also have a hard time trusting someone with such lack of empathy and respect for others and their relationships. To each their own, everyone grows and changes, but I wouldn't stick in a relationship with a giant red flag like that. If my boyfriend told me he used to get off on getting girls to cheat on their husbands, and that he still feels good about what he did, I wouldn't be able to look at him anymore. Instant disgust like you're saying. If my man confessed that to me, it would be a strong and definite deal breaker. Sorry to hear your girlfriend has no morals, and sorry to all those marriages, probably people with children, who are now ruined due to your girlfriend's selfish acts. Entire lives are ruined for what seems to be her thing. And now for the update. Hello Reddit. I thought I would come back and update since everyone gave me very much needed advice. I was not going to update since things honestly got worse and everything came from left field that I wanted to move on from this whole situation. Some people ask for my age and I am 24 male. After she got drunk and confessed to me that she used to be with married men and was actually thrilled that she was able to be with married men, she went to work the next morning and everything seemed normal. In the afternoon, she came over to my place and after reading everyone's comments, I wasn't sure of how to approach her. So when she came over, we started watching a movie and I acted like everything was normal. She fell asleep and soon after this, she got a text from her best friend. It came on the MacBook screen and my gut told me to read their messages. Her best friend, let's name her Emily, had sent her a screenshot of her talking to a man. And Emily asked him if he was married, and he said, "Yes, I am, haha." And my girlfriend responded with, I mean, he clearly doesn't care about his marriage. That's even sexier. And Emily said, I don't care. He's the one that should be respecting his wife, not me. Also, I like married men who cheat, especially if they're attractive. They both agreed on having a man prefer you over their wives was such a thrill. And how it was sexy they were willing to put their marriages on the line for them. And they were both laughing about it. I took a screenshot because I was not only repulsed, but also disgusted that my girlfriend was okay and going along with this type of behavior. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I woke her up after this and confronted her about what she had told me yesterday. To my surprise, she was surprised as to why it was such a big deal to me. I told her that being okay with being a willing participant with cheating was disgusting, and she has no morals for doing that. I suggested she go to therapy since there is some underlying reason as to why she might be like that. She said that she's perfectly okay, that it's the men who cheat are the ones who need to seek therapy, and she said she has, in her words, absolutely nothing to be sorry about. I really can't believe I wasted a year of my life with this person. I really thought I knew her. Her lack of morals, ethics, values, beliefs, and integrity baffles me. After this, I told her to leave my place and automatically blocked her. I'm sorry if this is long, but I do not want to talk about this to anyone, because this situation is beyond embarrassing and disgusting that I was with someone like this. Since the beginning, she was always, or seemed, like the most sweet and innocent person ever. I guess I never knew the real her. I wish I had a good update, but that's all I have for you guys. I wish this was just a bad dream, but it's not. I will focus on moving forward and thank you for everyone's advice. You dodged a major bullet there. Disagree. It was a freaking nuke. Agreed. I mean, if the dude stays with that person, he would be cheated soon enough, and she would find it exciting because it's hard to put a relationship on the line, going by her beliefs. I mean, he clearly doesn't care about his marriage. That's even sexier. There's nothing attractive about trash and its behavior. Her and a cheating husband. Edited to add. To the commenters on the original post saying the girlfriend didn't break any promises to the wives, and it's not a big deal unless it happens to me because I don't care about others, go get some oxygen because your head has been in your behind for so long. I'm sure she won't ever have a problem with sleeping with married men until the best friend goes after her husband and he does cheat. I've always thought it odd when women find it a badge of honor to get with a married man. Any gender really, but using the genders to match Opie's situation. I've always thought of it this way. Your girlfriend was not so desirable the married party actually deemed her worthy of blowing up their life over. A serial married cheater chooses partners with equal amounts to lose, or targets of low consequence that are easy to control during the affair and discard cleanly to end the affair. A 21-year-old is rarely going to have as much on the line as an older married person should things go bad. In reality, a 21-year-old is usually a mark ignorant to their actual position in the affair. Not something I take pride in personally. I was trying to figure out how to put exactly what you wrote into words. It isn't a positive he wanted to cheat with you. It's a huge negative. How does she delude herself into thinking otherwise? You did the right thing. She would have caused you much pain because she is a broken person that does not see how important boundaries are in a marriage. Last story is titled, Update. I, 28 male, messed up by asking my girlfriend, 26 female, to stop talking about her late boyfriend. Original story. Her college boyfriend passed away in an accident 5 years ago. I, 28 male, understand that he will always be part of her, 26 female, life and she will always love him. Her grief and trauma and how she dealt with losing her boyfriend is a part of who she is as a person. We have been dating for 2 years now. The problem is that she brings him into our relationship. Every time I make a mistake or get hurt, she always brings up how he used to treat her and how I should try to be more like him. She doesn't do it in an accusatory way, but it still kinda stings. It has been getting to me. Yesterday, I got news that I received the promotion I had been vying for. I was not very hopeful about getting it. It was a position which had many candidates from all different departments. We celebrated a little. We started talking about how we could do all the things we had planned for. In the middle of the conversation, I joked about being too anxious about these things. She responded by saying that her boyfriend had always been so calm and collected. Very chill about everything. He could just shrug off anything. I am exactly the opposite. I am anxious and a person who worries a lot. I don't know why, but it hurts me a lot. I asked her to stop talking about him. She looked offended but didn't respond, and I just ruined the night. We sat there for a few minutes before she decided to clean up and go to bed early. I feel like I'm being compared against someone I will never match up to. I know that he is very important to her, but can't she cherish him without making me feel like crap? She has been distant today. I know she's hurt. She has barely spoken to me today. I feel I should have just ignored her comments and rolled with it. My message and delivery were all wrong. I feel guilty about hurting her. I should have done a better job of being sensitive about this and brought it up when she was celebrating. I want to sort this out and have a productive conversation with her so that we can deal with this issue. How? Need some help going about that. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I don't think you're in the wrong here. Yes, you could have been more sensitive about it, which you acknowledge and should apologize for, but I really don't think you're in the wrong. You're being held to an impossible standard, and that's 100% unfair to you. You can't even celebrate your own accomplishments without her trying to make it all about him. It sucks that it came to a head like this, but use this as a chance to finally address this issue. You cannot move forward in your relationship with a dead guy hanging over the two of you. Yes, she can grieve and miss him, but that isn't what she is doing. She's using him as a tool to aid in making you feel less than someone else. Seriously, she needs counseling. Absolutely this. She's not being fair. You didn't do anything wrong. It's often very hard to say things calmly or reasonably when you are hurt or angry. You don't say if you have talked to her about the issue. You really should. She hasn't moved past her late boyfriend. People only remember the good stuff when people die, never the bad stuff. You can never be his equal, because he is dead. Can't screw up. It is not fair for her to compare the two of you. You need to tell her how it makes you feel. She is free to remember him in her mind, but not in yours. Like the others, it's not weird that you feel like this. Comparing your current partner to an ex like that is not okay, even if he's dead. Yeah, you could have worded that better, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. But rather than her just stop talking about her dead partner, she probably needs counseling. But honestly, you don't have to be there for it. You deserve a partner who appreciates you and don't compare you to others. She might be a good person, but she hasn't been a good partner to you. I don't think she's ready for a relationship with another person. And now for the update. All the comments here helped me understand that we needed to talk about the issue, but she was still a bit mad at me. I thought I should just give her space for a few days. I think a day or two after it was announced that I was being promoted. Some of my colleagues hosted a little after-work dinner for me as I would be moving divisions and not working with them anymore. It was nice and it really touched me. And it also made me understand how screwed our relationship had become. I got what the comments meant, but I guess actually having a nice dinner celebrating my success felt great and made me truly understand how unhappy I felt. We had a talk a few days later. I told her that I felt unhappy and unappreciated, that I felt like I needed some time away from her. She almost seemed like she was waiting for this, as she didn't seem particularly upset over it. She said she understood, and she would move back to her parents as soon as possible. I know it is ugly, but some part of me wanted her to be upset. Some proof that she cared for me? I don't know. I feel like she didn't love me at all. I feel like I wasted years being in love with her. She moved out 2 weeks ago, and I miss her a lot. Home feels really lonely without her, but at the same time, I feel better. Not a lot, but I feel a bit better about myself. It is strange. She's not a bad person. She's a wonderful person, and that is why I fell in love with her. But the closer we got, the less happy our relationship made me. I know a lot of it was my fault, and I need to work on communication skills. You made the right decision. You can't compete with a ghost. And that's really it. She made an idealized form of her ex to help her grieve, but she isn't letting go. I feel bad for both of them. Opie wanted to make her happy and have a relationship, but she was still not in a place to have one. The healing process is hard, and clearly she needs a push. Hopefully she gets the therapy she needs and doesn't keep relying on ghost boyfriend. Also, congrats Opie. This. When people lose someone, They often forget about any of their bad qualities and create a false image of someone who is completely perfect in every way. I get the impression that the girlfriend got into a relationship because it was easier than being alone and dealing with the grief, which obviously was terribly unfair on Opie. He's much better off. I know it's hard, but you absolutely did the right thing. I remember your original post and was so frustrated at your ex's behavior. It's going to be hard and sad now, but you'll be so happy soon. Take the time to breathe freely and enjoy being on your own. For real, I just read the post and was beyond annoyed with the girlfriend. Her boyfriend died and was turned into a saint with no flaws. That would be crushing. Every time you did something wrong or right, to be told, well, Timmy never messed up or always did X. Sounds like you did the right thing. My partner also has a deceased ex, and I certainly would struggle if he was comparing me to her constantly. Grief is odd, but boundaries need to be maintained. Wishing you the best. Yeah, I'm the widow in my relationship, and while I definitely do talk about my late husband quite a bit, it is never done in a comparison way. I would never say to my boyfriend, "Husband was like this, why aren't you?" And because I am respectful of that, he is respectful of the fact that my husband will always be a part of my life, and we can talk and I can tell stories, etc.
Am I the a-hole for not telling my girlfriend about my savings? Original post. I, 20 male, have been working since I was 14. I grew up very poor and watched my dad work 2 jobs to make ends meet. My first job was at Publix, working 15 to 20, maybe 25 hours a week. But my dad made sure I saved all my money unless I wanted a new video game or a pair of shoes, but he still wouldn't let me splurge like I wanted. He paid for all my food and phone bill until he passed away when I was 16. I started working in a restaurant and the manager gave me a lot of hours. I'd clock in at 9 a.m. as a prep cook and then clock in at 4 p.m. as a busser. I wouldn't clock out until like 11 to 12 p.m. I was making at least $800 a week during the summer as a 16-year-old. It was great. I saved up about $3,000 that whole summer. Then when I'd leave school, I'd clock in from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and work the rest of my shift under the table. I saved up at least $5,000 through the whole school year. I was always very frugal with money and never cared for the nicer clothes. I still dressed nice, but no desire to wear designer clothes. Well, now that I work full-time for the past 2 to 3 years, I have roughly $30,000, more or less. I started dating my girlfriend 2 years ago, and I always say I'm broke when I have less than $500 in my checking account. I'm not necessarily saving up for anything because I live with my sister and she doesn't make me pay any bills, except for the light bills / my phone plan and the stuff that I want. My girlfriend doesn't have as good as money management as I do. Whenever she gets sad, she likes to retail therapy. I've never understood why, but her parents spoiled her growing up, so I figured that plays a part. But oh well, everyone has their own ways of dealing with the sadness, and that's hers. Well, she was asking if I could send her like $200 to $300 for something. Won't disclose what, and I told her to send it to herself through my bank. I didn't think she'd go through my whole bank app and click on my savings, but she saw I had $2,500 in my checking and went to my savings. She came to me and showed me my phone and was like, "We're rich. You must have been selling drugs or something, haha." I did find it funny, but I tried to tell her easy that we're not spending that. And she then thought about it and looked at the transactions over the years and added it all up and was like, "You never mentioned anything about this account." I said, "Because that money isn't wealth. It's a savings in case anything bad happens." Now, I will say I'm not stingy with money. I just don't spend money on things I don't need. I still take my girlfriend out to eat every week and buy her flowers. I make sure she feels her worth, which is more than that money I have saved. We just look at money differently. If anything were to ever happen to her, I'd obviously care for her and take money out of that account for her. But she started talking about how she doesn't need to work if I have that type of money. I explained that money isn't wealth once again, and $30,000 can be gone in the blink of an eye. She wasn't having it. I told her we can start a savings account together that will strictly be for trips, activities, etc. She said I already have the money for that. I responded, "This is why I didn't mention the money to you. because you'd want to spend it all in a matter of a month. She broke down crying, saying I didn't trust her and I don't love her. I plan on marrying this woman and love her to death, but I don't want to jeopardize something I worked years on to save and be comfortable financially. I don't use credit cards or anything yet, and I am in no debt. I do see where she's coming from, and I could see where I'm in the wrong by not disclosing this with her, but I knew I'd have to start from ground zero again. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I'll be honest, OP. She's still pretty immature and clearly has no concept of the value of money. I know you say you want to marry this girl, but bro, you are 20 years old. There's a freaking big world out there to explore. If this is her stance on money and she refuses to educate herself on the value of money, I wouldn't be sticking around and letting her leech her hard work away. 30,000 is not a lot of money, and you are certainly not rich. Don't know where you live, but in my city, that would only be an 8-month cushion if tragedy strikes. If you are both still living at home, try sitting down with her and draw up a budget for what it would cost to live in your own place together. Get some help, as there are expenses you don't even know about at this point. Just see how far your savings would really go. Good on you for being so great with your money so far. Keep it up. I was OP. At 20 years old, tragedy did strike. I became permanently disabled. The savings I had worked so hard for went to pay off my car and some of the medical bills that never stopped accumulating. I'm now 37 and I'll never have significant savings again because I'll never go more than a couple of months without having major surgery. OP, you never know what might happen. Hopefully nothing like what happened to me. Very few people get sick like this. But a major accident, a house fire, you just never know. Even my dog's surgery cost thousands of dollars, but it saved his life. That money is a safety net that gives you the ability to choose what to do in a horrible situation. Will you save your dog or put him down? Without the money, you have to put him down. When you're in an accident, will you buy a new car or will you struggle with public transportation for a while? If you get laid off, will you take the first job you're offered or wait for something that actually seems like a good fit? That money is the cushion that allows you to choose your next move carefully, instead of being forced into whatever decision is cheapest. Make no mistake, eventually something bad happens to everyone. Obviously, everyone hopes it will be a minor bad thing. But the more prepared you can be, the easier it is to bounce back. Not the a-hole. Never had a more red flag than we are rich. No, honey, that's nowhere near rich, and not your money whatsoever. From her immaturity, she's legal, right? Oh yes, she's 20 and I'm 20. She just gets everything she wants from her parents and never really worked for anything really. While me, on the other hand, has had to work for everything I want/need. If she thinks $30,000 is rich, she doesn't understand money, and clearly is still a child, not an adult. $30K is a down payment for a $150,000 house, which in most markets is literally a hole in the ground. That won't even buy you a new car in cash. It's awesome you have it saved, and it's stupendous for someone your age, but you ain't rich. I would put a good chunk into some investments, maybe even get a financial advisor that could get your money working for you. The lack of money experience isn't surprising, almost to be expected. He is way more financially mature than 99% of 20 years old in the US. The red flag is a girlfriend immediately laying claim to half a dude's money, when not a dime of it is hers. But she isn't laying claim to half of it. She suggested that she no longer needs to work. Not that she and OP can now retire together. In her mind, that money's all hers. Edit/mini update. People commenting saying I should offer rent to my sister because of the money I have saved up. I agree, but she won't let me pay rent. Her and husband are well off due to him being a VP at a wedding company with government contracts, and my sister is retired military working as a chairwoman of her charity. They don't want me to pay rent and focus on my future. Also, to the comments questioning why I've only $30K saved up, I pay for most of my big purchases outright, as I don't like acquiring debt. On a different note, I will be taking my girlfriend out to eat on Saturday per her request, as she wants to talk about everything that transpired, so we'll update most likely on Sunday or Monday. Thank you everyone for your advice. It's greatly appreciated, and I will be taking it all into consideration. Now for the full update. Good morning to all you lovely gents and ladies. I'm up early this morning because it is a stressful night and I couldn't get comfortable to save my life. My girlfriend and I decided that we're going to take a break. I was trying to not let the outside influences influence me, but I noticed she ordered a lot more food than she usually does, and didn't even take a bite of some of it. Her excuse was, "You're fine. It was only $150 for both of us." That was my eye-opener. So I paid, with a generous tip, but I saw a lot of comments saying she already spent that money in her head, or she will drain it slowly but surely until it's all gone. I hate that money was the reason for us breaking up, but a lot of people were saying facts I couldn't ignore. Her whole attitude changed with me and felt like she was Elon Musk's wife. I told her at the table after we ate, "I still love you and will always care about you, but you need to grow up a little bit before we get back together." She started crying and left, and then received messages from her mother asking if I'm seeing somebody else, because this is out of the blue for someone like me. I don't know if she's saying I shouldn't be able to leave her daughter rather than her daughter is supposed to leave me, but I didn't even respond back. I don't care for the drama, nor for the arguing which is happening with my girlfriend. Sorry, ex-girlfriend. I was told I'm just like my dad, a bum, a sorry loser, etc. I could keep going, lol. I'm none of those things. I might be a little bit interesting, but I haven't even really responded to my ex with anything but "yes ma'am" or "you're right." I don't feel like I'm the bad guy because I'm not fighting for a relationship that is now seen as dollar signs. But to everyone who said I was the a-hole, I see where you're coming from, and I learned to be more transparent about not being broke rather than not spending that money. I just think it's rude to say, "I have the money, I just don't want to spend it." I'll think of ways to say that without saying that. Now, to everyone who said I should give my sister rent money, I swear I'm not selfish and just being greedy with my money. Whenever her kids and I go to Walmart, I tend to always get them a toy. Last week I bought them a Lego set. Probably not a good idea because they're 1 and 3 years old, but hey, as long as they're having fun and don't swallow them, we're good. But I buy everyone things. Even if they're not the most expensive, they're all sentimental. I just bought my brother-in-law and I matching Team USA basketball jerseys because we're both hyped for the Olympics. They just don't want me to pay rent, and I'm not going to argue with them about that, but I still buy them stuff as well to make up for that. To everyone who said leave her, y'all were right. I hate to say it, but money is all some can see when they have seen it. She was blinded by a make-believe life of luxury I don't have to offer. I'm not saying she's a gold digger or a bad person, just immature and young. I'm also going to take the advice of putting it in a different account I can earn interest on to keep up with inflation. I thank everyone for their advice and prayers. It was much needed, and I hope to everyone who has a nice penny saved up to keep grinding and scratching your way to the top. I hope to see y'all there one day. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not trusting my husband after he depleted our savings to pay for his dog's surgery? My mother-in-law asked my husband a year and a half ago to watch over her dog for her when she went to surgery and rehab following surgery. She's a healer. I apparently didn't have any say in it because I didn't even know until the dog was at my house. I had a problem with this from the beginning. The dog was completely untrained. There were multiple times that the dog would jump up on our table and steal food out of the kids' plates and growl at you when you corrected her. She went after my cats multiple times. She poops in the house constantly, no matter how often she was outside. She would do zoomies around the yard for easily 40 minutes, come inside and immediately squat to poop. And she nipped me and my husband's faces. Not the kids, oddly enough. Hard enough to draw blood to. If he pulled away before she got you, you could hear her teeth smashing against each other. I didn't want the dog and expressed it hundreds of times. But he refused to get rid of her because of his mother, despite his mother having been out of rehab for over a month at that point. Well, his mom told us 3 months ago that she would be taking this dog back in April. But 2 weeks ago, she comes to our house and, surprise, surprise, she has a new dog. She told us, "Well, you've had her for so long that I figured you could just keep her." I just found out I was pregnant a month prior to this. I told my husband there was no way we were keeping this dog. I never even wanted a dog here. He eventually said okay, and he found a nice couple who owned a giant farm to take her for an overnight to see if it was a good fit 3 days ago. We got a call the very next morning saying that the dog was hit by a car. He rushed us to go get her and bring her to the emergency vet. She needed amputation, surgery on her front paw, surgery on her pelvis, metal plates put in, etc., etc. The total for the surgeries was almost $13,000. They told us prior to doing any of the work that they had a healer rescue who was willing to take her if we couldn't afford the surgeries. I go back out to the car at this point because I was feeling nauseous from not eating anything and being pregnant. He comes out like a half hour later and tells me that it paid $700 to $800 towards the cost, our savings, and open an animal care credit card to cover the rest, which has 26% interest if you don't pay the cost back in full in 6 months. Now he's saying he can't get rid of her because she has been through too much and she's my friend. I'm so wildly repulsed by this that I can't even look at him the same anymore. This is a divorce territory to me. All of our savings are now gone, and we are going to be looking at that because of this 26% interest credit card he opened. And now he expects me to deal with carrying the dog around and squatting around the yard for her to go to the bathroom when I already have hypertension from pregnancy and I have been deemed high risk. I told him I don't think I can stay with him after this. I do not trust him at all anymore. There were options. They had a healer rescue willing to take the dog and cover the cost. But he instead threw us into debt over a dog that he told me he was getting rid of and I'm all set. He said I'm an a-hole for not seeing his point on this. I do see his point. He loves the dog obviously. But we are pregnant. And he just depleted our savings over a dog that bites faces. And I don't think I want to be with him anymore. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm a dog lover, but this dog seems to be putting you and your kids at risk. I'm wondering if he didn't ask his mother for the dog and used the guise of, we're taking care of it while she's recovering. Not the a-hole. Also a dog lover, which is why when I moved in with my partner, we had an adult conversation about getting one, which breed fit our lifestyle and timing for us to be in the right place in life to properly care for one. I cannot imagine just coming home one day with an animal and telling my partner just deal with it, especially when you have young children in the home. That would have been divorce territory. Using the savings and opening the credit card without even discussing it is beyond. I'm a dog and cat lover too, but if a grown animal is a biter and food aggressive and is impossible to house train, out he goes. I'd take him to a no-kill animal shelter and let them deal with him. But depleting the savings account and going into debt over a sick or injured dog where there are alternatives is insane. One has bills, a mortgage I assume, and growing kids. This man is a child when it comes to adult decisions. If they have college accounts for the kids, I see him depleting them on a whim. He is an a-hole. It would be kinder to euthanize an animal that is that badly hurt, and he certainly had no right to use your savings and take on debt without consulting you. Plenty of reasons to divorce him. And if it was fixable and that rescue wanted to take on the costs, then freaking let them deal with it. I love dogs. My girl is my baby. But barring some crazy exception like me trying to break up a dog fight with my hands or something where she's terrified / in pain and trying to protect herself, if she bit me, she'd be euthanized. I could not, in good faith, pass her along to another home knowing she's capable of that. If I rehomed her and even years later found out she did someone serious harm, I'd never be able to forgive myself. I really resent being lied to and find it unforgivable when someone who loves me does it. Your husband is lied to, deceived, and disregarded you. For me, he's basically looked you in your face and said, I don't care about you and you don't matter. 1. He agreed to take on the dog's care without ever consulting you. 2. He didn't return the dog when he said he would. 3. He's ignored and disregarded how you feel / what you want at every step. 4. He spent every dime of your joint savings without a word to you and took on an additional $5,000 to $6,000 debt at 26% without even a thought of you. How hard would it have been to say 1 sec and walk out to the car to discuss? In your shoes, he'd have told me everything I need to know. Update. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after a prenatal pregnancy test confirmed I was not the father? Original post. I, 26 male, was in a relationship with my girlfriend, 26 female, for almost 6 years. We loved each other, but last year, my girlfriend and I decided to separate for a while to rekindle our relationship. We placed no restrictions on the separation, and we were free to do whatever we wanted and act as we were single. We took a break for a couple of months. The break was much needed to recharge our relationship. A week after getting back together, my girlfriend showed signs of pregnancy. She got an at-home pregnancy test done, which confirmed she was pregnant. We were both really overjoyed and happy. A few months later, I was planning on proposing to her and I had already bought the engagement ring. But I wanted to confirm first that I was the father before proposing to her and get the prenatal paternity test done. My girlfriend and I both wanted to do the NIPP test to confirm that I was the father. My girlfriend said she did sleep with someone during our break, so there was an off chance I wasn't the father. But we were both very confident that I would be the father. We received the results a couple of weeks later, and I wasn't the father. I was extremely sad and dejected, and my girlfriend was very sad too. It just hurt me a lot, and emotionally I couldn't process it. A week later, I broke up with my girlfriend. The breakup was extremely traumatizing for her and even for me. I told my girlfriend that I just did not want to be the baby's father and that if possible, she had to try and contact the bio father and let him know. I then helped her move back to her parents' home. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Separate to recharge the relationship is maybe the dumbest idea I've heard. Well, how'd that recharge go? She recharged from a different dongle. It appears she got a data transfer of 23 chromosomes too. To rekindle our relationship, we decided to break up. Where do all these freaking morons come from? Dumbest BS I've ever read. It ranks up there with, my partner wants to sleep with other people so it will spice up our sex life. I've seen people do this in my own life. It almost always ends up one of the parties sleeping with a bunch of people during the break, and the other person wasn't realizing that the reason for the break was so it wasn't technically cheating. Exactly. I have an exact same scenario where my buddy's girlfriend wanted to take a break. So they did, and it turns out she wanted guilt-free sex from another dude. He broke up with her shortly after that, LMAO. Now for the update. So just a quick update, as a few people in the comments were wondering as to whether my ex knew who the bio dad was. I called my ex last night and asked her if she had found a bio dad. She said no, that she just knew his first name but didn't have his number or any social media. She had met him at the bar. It was pretty much a one-night stand. I asked her how her parents are taking it, and unfortunately they aren't taking it too great, and they are being really critical of her. Her parents liked me, and they had no idea we even took a break. My ex was a bit of an emotional mess when I called her last night, and I really felt bad. I really wish that baby was mine. My ex and I really envisioned spending the rest of our life with each other, but it sadly isn't. I told my ex last night that was the last time I was going to call her and wished her well on her future. She was crying really badly at the end, and it pretty much broke my heart when I hung up. I too remember when I wanted to spend my life with someone. Oddly enough, taking a random no-rules break so I could get raw-dogged on one-night stand didn't quite seem to align with those life goals. Yeah, I really don't understand these stupid breaks. It's literally just a pass to bang other people. Just break up. It's for people in denial that the relationship's over. Opie said in his original post he was about to propose. If you had to take a break to rekindle the relationship, then marriage is a stupid idea. Worst idea is to try to save a relationship. Take a break, propose, have a baby. Dude, you gotta stop answering for anyone else's feelings besides your own. Because if your ex wanted to spend the rest of her life with you, guess what? She wouldn't have wanted a break in the first place. Don't project her feeling onto your partners, because it's obvious her feelings about you were completely different. Yeah, everyone gets one chance. There are no breaks, and everyone is at first responsible for themselves. You can't burn yourself to keep others warm. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to consider stopping our divorce after my ex admitted her psychic friend lied about me having an affair? I met my wife Rona when we were in college together. I made the obviously terrible assumption that the fact she was in post-secondary education meant she had a modicum of common sense. We started dating our senior year and after job hunting, settled on moving back to her hometown after graduating. We found an apartment and lived together for 2 years before getting married. All good so far. At our wedding, I met an old friend of hers, Anna. She offered to read my palm since she was part gypsy. Weird. I am in construction and I know a few people from that group and they call themselves Roma. Whatever. Anna only comes to town every once in a while. She lives in New York City, so she doesn't have time to visit since she has an exciting life there. She makes costumes for plays and cosplayers, so we see her maybe 4 times over the next 2 years. Last time she came was Labor Day last year, and that's when it got weird. All of a sudden, Rona starts acting oddly. She starts checking in on me at work, coming by when I'm working late, asking to use my phone because hers is almost out of power, that sort of thing. She finally comes out and accuses me of having an affair. I thought she was joking, so I laugh and say that I'm not. This sets her off like a Roman candle because Anna told her I would laugh it off when Rona came for the truth. I laughed because it was ridiculous. I barely had time for a relationship with my wife at my job. I am home all weekend long. When I go golfing, her brother is almost always either in my group or at the club. And most important of all, I love my wife. I wouldn't do anything to harm her. And yet she takes the word of Anna, the psychic seamstress, over mine. She asks me to leave our apartment. I say no, because I have nowhere else to go. So she leaves and moves back with her parents. They think she's nuts too. I spent the next few months working and trying to convince her that I'm not cheating and that I want her to come home. I don't get invited to Thanksgiving because it would be awkward. I didn't even stick around for Christmas. I went home to see my family. They have been following this stupidity without commenting until then. At Christmas, they had an intervention. They said my wife was having a break from reality and that she wasn't coming out of it. My dad told me to give my head a shake, which he only does when I'm being monumentally stupid. When I got back, I went to a lawyer and started my divorce. That was in January. Finally, at the beginning of April, Rona calls me to talk. I say that we should talk through lawyers. She starts to cry and I agreed to meet her in public if she will allow me to record our conversation so I can give a copy to my lawyer. She eventually agreed. Turns out, her and her parents hired a private detective to find my affair. 6 months and a huge bill later, 0 evidence of an affair. She finally believes me and wants to come home. I tell her that our lease is up in July and I already found a job in Denver near my family. She says she would come with me, but I respectfully declined. I told her we just weren't right for each other. The truth is, I do not want to have my offspring share DNA with this dingbat. Anyway, I am moving ahead with my divorce. I am gutted that she took her friend's psychic vibration over mine. Her family has approached me several times. The last time, her dad offered to front us a 25% down payment on a house if I agreed to go to marriage counseling instead of just leaving. I politely declined. I cannot be bought. Rona is now depressed, but I see no way of ever trusting her again. She is young enough. She can marry again and wreck some other guy's life. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. This dingbat. I could not have described her better. Not the a-hole, of course. Reproducing with idiots needs to be an actual deal breaker for more people. It doesn't matter how hot they are, how good sex is, how perfect they would be if not for just this one thing, how lonely you are, etc. If you are going to have children, you don't get to pick a moron for a breeding partner. Child-free? Please take all the idiots you want. Enjoy your lives. Be awesome. Keep them from waving their hands in the air when getting on a helicopter. Pull the door they are pushing on in vain to open. Live your best lives. But if you are going to have kids, idiot needs to be on the list of deal breakers. Not a-hole for sure. Your comment reminds me of a story I was told in a college class. A very beautiful but dumb woman wanted to marry a very smart but ugly man in order to have very beautiful and smart children. The man just responded that they could end up with very ugly and dumb children. Not the a-hole. Once she took the word of a psychic over you, it was over. And the fact that she then convinced her parents to hire a PI to get info on your infidelities is just the icing on the top. And only the PI coming up empty brought about the realization that you were telling the truth. What else will she blindly believe when her psychic friend has another vision? Run, don't walk. I would imagine the parents hired the PI as a way to get her to come to her senses. Yep, they offered over $100,000 down payment for a place to try and get OP to give the marriage another shot. I'd bet good money that they suggested a PI and were happy to pay for it because they knew it would come up empty and push her back to OP. Next story. I told my parents that if they keep bringing up their daughter, they'll be dead to me. Did I go too far? My best friend was engaged to my parents' daughter, a girl who I once considered my sister. He loved her dearly. She was his first girlfriend and his first love. He was like a brother to me and a second son to my parents. They were happy when they started dating and even happier when they got engaged. The happiness only lasted a few months though, because his fiancée was having an affair with his brother. When she broke it off, his brother told him about everything. They were having an affair way before he even got engaged. My friend didn't take the news well. He was more hurt that his fiancée had an affair with his brother instead of a random stranger. He didn't have the best relationship with his brother anyway, and that was another betrayal. He couldn't cope well, and I guess this pushed him over the edge. I blame my sister and I blame his brother. His brother was rightfully disowned by his family, but my parents kept in contact with their daughter. I already hated my parents' daughter when I found out she cheated on my friend, but I absolutely hated her when he killed himself because of it. It has almost been a year since he died, and my parents keep trying to get me to talk to their daughter because she's not coping well and needs all of the love and support she can get. I told them that I don't care what she's going through and they could leave me out of it. They didn't take this well and started arguing with me. I tried to stay calm, but they kept insisting I talk to her. So I told them that if they keep trying to get me to talk to their daughter, they'll be dead to me too. I told them that I could care less what they do with her, but don't bring her garbage to me, and I left it at that. This caused my parents to cry, and my mom told me that she was trying to get the family back together and that my sister made a mistake. But I can't fault her for my friend dying because of it. Is she really remorseful? In other words, are the brother and her still together? No, they aren't together anymore. She is remorseful, I guess, but the person she owes forgiveness to is dead, so too late. She wasn't remorseful when she lied to her fiancé for months. She wasn't remorseful to accept his proposal, knowing full well she was already cheating then. She wasn't remorseful in picking the single most hurtful person to cheat on her ex with. She wasn't remorseful in dumping him despite her being in the wrong. For tens of thousands of moments, she gleefully lied to his face, then made plans to continue something she knew was inhumanly hurtful to him. She was so selfish that she couldn't even be bothered to break up back when the affair first started, and instead had to string both men along. Even if she feels sorry now, the crocodile tears are only for herself. She deserves zero empathy, and she has already gotten so much more from your parents than she showed the innocent dead man. She does not deserve an ounce more civility from you or anyone else. Cheaters only tend to be remorseful when they face consequences. They don't really regret what they did, they regret the fact that they have to face what they did to everyone around them. Your sister didn't make a mistake, she made a choice, and that choice came with consequences, not the a-hole. She didn't make a single mistake or a single choice. It was a series of very bad choices that she could have stopped at any time, the biggest one being she accepted his proposal. Last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my husband returns my engagement ring to the store because he is making me pay for it through our joint account? My husband, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have been married for just under 3 months and have been having a huge argument about my engagement ring. We got married 1 month into him proposing to me. It wasn't a fancy wedding, and we had our honeymoon right after we signed the papers at the courthouse. He gave me a diamond engagement ring that's close to 8K, a 2-carat lab diamond. He didn't have funds available readily as we are saving for a home, so he put this ring on a payment plan. I found out after we married and merged our finances that he has been withdrawing funds from our joint account to finance this ring. We make roughly the same. I was just taken aback and honestly put off by the fact he is making me pay for a gift he gave to me. We have been having some arguments lately, and he feels that ring is a wedding expense, and it's only fair that I contribute towards it too, and that as a woman of this day, I shouldn't hesitate to be an equal partner. I called BS and shared my thoughts on this whole thing. First, you don't make the recipient of a gift pay for the damned gift. An engagement ring is considered a gift in most modern societies even today, and I don't care if you disagree with that. It's just what the cultural expectations are, and we never discussed if he had any issues with that. Maybe if he was an adult enough, I would have had a discussion about how it makes him feel and see if his values about tradition align with mine. Second, I've intentionally partially paid for 2 installments now, which makes me part owner of the ring. If I knew my husband was going to be making me pay for the ring, I wouldn't have agreed to buy it. Mutual consent is essential when a couple is deciding to invest in an asset. Owning a house or a car jointly requires 2 yeses, and I wouldn't certainly have said yes to jointly owning a ring he was supposed to give to me as a gift. So I can retroactively decide now I never wanted to own it, and have been demanding that my husband returns the ring to the store if paying for the ring hurts his pocket so much. Clarification, because I anticipate a lot of people might wonder. I've always wanted a nice ring, and I'm not going to apologize about it since we never had a real wedding party, and I knew I deserved a quality piece symbolizing our love. However, my then fiancé also knew about the expectation I had of him, and was upfront about things from the get-go. He could have discussed things with me like I mentioned earlier, and we could have seen if we were truly compatible like that. What I didn't know was that he was plotting to get even with me by taking out a payment plan and using our funds to finance it. This caused him to flare up, and he berated me for being sexist towards him. I put my foot down, not because I can't afford it or I refuse to financially contribute or give my husband a nice gift, but my husband's sheer stubbornness and tackiness about wanting me to pay is what ticks me off. I don't mind splurging for him, but this whole situation has left a very bad taste in my mouth. He expects me to apologize to him because I called his actions tacky and decisions scammy and in bad faith. Am I the a-hole? Nobody pointing out $8K for a 2-carat lab-grown diamond is insanely expensive? My first thought too. Do you guys have separate bank accounts and just a joint account, or just a joint account? Because if you only have the joint account, you are technically gonna be partially paying for every gift you receive. The way it reads is that they have just a joint, which is how I arrived at she's the a-hole. How does she think her gifts will get paid if they share an account? Like he's still putting his money in the account. This is also weird to me, because I've been married for 17 years, and while a purchase this high would require talking, I feel like OP's husband probably took her letting him know she is worth the expensive ring, and it was what she wanted, so he got the ring. He probably never factored in paying for it from the joint account would make her flip her lid. Yes, I could maybe see her side of things if she wasn't so, I deserve and I won't settle. But seeing all that immediately made my eye twitch. This guy is never going to win. If he buys her an expensive gift, he will be called cheap and lazy. If he finances a nice gift, he will be called a liar and a thief. He just needs to run away. Update. Am I the a-hole for ghosting a woman who got pregnant by another guy while just starting to date me? Original post. I, 41 male, was seeing a woman, 32 female. We went out on 5 or 6 dates, then come to find out she had been sleeping with a different guy and got pregnant. And then when I found out, I was the bad guy for abandoning her because she was pregnant. I explained her pregnancy was not the issue. It was the issue of us talking for about a month before she finally had time for a proper date. And over the next 3 months, we managed to go out to 5 or 6 times. But she was sleeping with this guy, which she claims was just purely physical, and there was no feelings there. And she thought since I was already a dad with custody of my kids and a good job, I could raise this one as my own. Now she's attacking me on social media, claiming I'm abandoning her and the baby and that I'm an a-hole for it. I've requested a DNA test, which I know will come back as not mine, considering we haven't ever been intimate, and she's trying to fight it. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Run! I have no contact with her. She tried to get child support, and that's when I requested DNA test. She's been trying to fight the DNA test, but since I requested it, she gets zero money till she can prove it's mine. Lucky for me, I got a good caseworker who won't just give her child support until she proves I'm the father, which won't happen. What a horrible situation for you to be in. I hope it gets resolved quickly. What if she was already pregnant and just wanted someone that could support her and pretend he's the father? This was my take. She just used him to get a guy to pay child support because she knows the real father won't/can't pay. Or there's so many potential father candidates, she doesn't know who is the real father and doesn't want to have to go through the process of finding out through the courts and thought she could lock down OP. I'd honestly stick a lawyer on her. Maybe a strongly worded cease and desist will give her pause. If not, at least you have started a paper trail if her insanity escalates. Not the a-hole. I thought about a lawyer, but the last time I talked to the child support caseworker, she had till the end of February to accept DNA test, or the case was closed. Not about the DNA test, about a defamation. This, OP needs to screenshot everything she's put in social media. This can really bite him in the behind down the line. I've all screenshots and text messages that she sends. Glad you do, but you really need to get a lawyer to deal with the defamation. Getting a rep as a deadbeat will follow you professionally and socially. Don't assume because you've proven to not be the dad or she drops it that it won't be used against you. You need a decisive action, like a judgment or something else. I agree. After reading the comments, that's my next steps. I hate the excuse that it was only physical. Like, of course it was. It was. It's not like I'm upset that you played chess with a dude or that you watched The Notebook together. People nowadays, especially women who have the ability to be sexually active, any decently attractive woman can have sex extremely easily, as opposed to a decent-looking man. They downplay the act because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They do it because there is little sexual discipline in society, and because they can. They're not thinking of repercussions. Even if you're just dating someone, there's a point where you know it would be messed up if you were to sleep with somebody else. People do it while falling on the excuse that they're not official yet, as if it really changes things when feelings are involved. It's a principal thing. Now for the update. Firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone that commented and helped to direct me on a few paths. I do have an update since I posted this morning. This morning I contacted a lawyer and told him everything, as well as sent overall screenshots and text messages. After contacting my lawyer, he contacted Child Support Office, which after about a 20-minute runaround, he was able to get a case file. He set a hearing with the judge to order said paternity, and after getting the court date to hear said case, he contacted her as a courtesy to let her know that I had retained a lawyer, and that a court case had been set, and some paperwork was being mailed to her address. That was around 10:45 a.m. At 11:15 a.m., my lawyer received a call from Child Support Office that she had changed her story and that she said I wasn't a father, and made the excuse that she messed up and gave the name of the bio dad, which we were not given. My lawyer then called her back. And all posts slandering me have been taken down, and a new post has been put up with her claiming chemical imbalance in her body that had her in a fit of rage and was lashing out on someone she shouldn't have. She stated that while she wishes I was the father, that I am not and could not be because we never got intimate. I received a call from my lawyer around 11:30 and was made aware of the post around the same time. Under my lawyer's advice, for now I will not be posting the screenshots or text messages, but at some point I will, because the crazy needs to be seen. Again, thank you to everyone who posted on the original post. Sue her for the lawyer costs. Even if it's just sending her a bill for it, she is more likely not to come back. She needs to pay your legal fees and costs too. I posted in the original that getting a lawyer and not going to trial is the best case scenario. That hasn't changed. OP needs to take the win and pay the lawyer a couple hundred to couple grand for a couple phone calls and a letter or two. I've paid between $200 and $500 for this, but high cost of living area, I could see it being $2,000. Trying to collect is harder than people realize, especially if they have no assets and a kid. So long as the posts come down, OP needs to just move on. Suing would be very inadvisable, and turning clear victory into a costly draw or expensive loss. But if OP wants to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, that'd be the recommended way of doing it. To be clear, didn't happen in 30 minutes and times are not exact. Some people try until court is established. She knew she couldn't lie to a judge and get away with it. She also knew when found guilty, she would be responsible for all attorney and court costs. Plus, if she lied in court, she could face jail time. Sometimes just one phone call from attorneys can make things go away. People get away with lying to a judge all the time. Luckily, you had the threat of a paternity test to back you up. Crazy people like this make me laugh. They think that lying and crying in social media will magically make things go their way. The second OP got the courts involved with a DNA test, she backed down. Honestly, what did she expect to happen? OP to step up and pay instead of fight? Guess she went looking in the wrong neighborhood for a sugar daddy. Nothing happens this fast. Within 3 hours of you calling a lawyer, a government agency contacted the mother and she ended up changing her story? Get the F out of here with this bullshit-ass fairy tale. I didn't say a government agency contacted her. I said my lawyer contacted her to tell her about court and papers being served her as a courtesy. She contacted said government agency to change her story, which contacted my attorney that child support against me was being dropped and was going after another gentleman. Said she acknowledged the denial of paternity that I had signed. Just think what it was like before DNA tests. Back in the day, women got into more trouble for having kids out of wedlock. So at least the unmarried young ladies often had their babies in hiding and gave them up for adoption. Trying to falsely accuse somebody would often misfire on them and give them a scarlet letter. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to abort my child? I, female 32, have 3 boys and currently pregnant. All children share the same dad, male 37. He had a 2-year-long affair to a 22 female who's now his current fiancée we'll call Amy. We got divorced and he left everything to me so he'd have no contact or responsibility over our children. Amy was furious. However, after the divorce, I found out I was pregnant. I told him, and he said it was my issue, not his, and he was like, please. To which I kept the pregnancy, but he didn't tell Amy. I found out she was pregnant with a girl, to which my ex-father-in-law said she'd be the 5th grandchild at her baby shower as they knew about my baby. And from what I was told, she lost her mind. From that day, she had been stalking my social media and found out I too was having a girl. She contacted me to demand I terminate my pregnancy, as it wasn't fair I gave my ex his first daughter as well as sons. I blocked and screenshotted the messages. The following day, my ex-in-laws come to see the kids. We had a good relationship up until this point, and said that I should have an abortion as I've got my hands full with my boys. So I questioned them if it had anything to do with their son's new partner, to which my ex-mother-in-law said no. However, my ex-father-in-law told her not to lie, and he had no part to play in this. Apparently, she had been kicking up a fuss from the minute she knew both me and herself were pregnant with girls, and that I'd be giving birth first, as if it was some sort of competition. I told them she has the issue, not me, and probably a mental health issue or two. My ex-father-in-law laughed, and my ex-mother-in-law screamed at me and left. Ex-mother-in-law told Amy what I had said and plastered it all over social media. Many found it hilarious and agreed she was wrong. However, some disagreed and said I should terminate my child, and have been sent constant messages from her and her family/friends, etc., which I've blocked, but they keep making fake accounts. Am I really the a-hole? I know I'm not, but I just want to gather people's thoughts/opinions. Throw away due to her being a psychopath and knowing all my social media. Now for the top comments. What am I even reading? Be petty AF and tell Amy you will always be first. First wife, first to have children, first to have a daughter, and first to drop the dead weight. The only thing she has accomplished first is making a vacancy for a mistress. I laughed way harder than I should have at that. Who in the world has the right to tell you to abort your child, your first daughter? Get away from these banjo pickers. They are surely mentally deficient. I'm sorry for your children to have such whacked-out paternal relatives. Amy's too young to realize that history repeats itself. Karma will see her soon. Funny thing is, he's already cheated on her 3 times without her realizing. How has she not realized it though? Had nobody told her? She's as thick as 2 planks, and she's obsessed with my life, so she neglects and ignores her own. How do you know he's cheated on her? Through either social media with mutual friends or father-in-law. You're mature enough to know that you don't need to cater to a 22-year-old's immature tantrums, right? She can go eat rocks. Have your baby if that is what you want and you can support her. I would limit contact with the ex-mother-in-law as well. Block, block, block all around and be happy. Not the a-hole. Right? Your first sentence hit the nail right on the head. Why is OP seriously asking if she's wrong for not aborting her child because her ex's 22-year-old affair partner told her to? Good grief. Not the a-hole. Block all those a-holes who think they can have a say in this ridiculous matter. It's your baby. It's your decision. It's shocking that even ex-mother-in-law is siding with the immature 22-year-old. If it was around the same due date, Amy would have made a tantrum at a hospital to have the baby delivered first. Yes, I'm sure she would, because Amy is a child who thinks she's competing with a former wife. Not only is the ex-husband a cheating a-hole, but a predator. The wife is well rid of him. Last story. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband? I've been married for more than 2 decades to my husband. In all of the time we have been together, he only held a job for the first 9 years. Wasn't successful in finding work after that. Because he was unemployed, he was able to take care of his dad and another relative while they were dying. One got sick right after the other passed. I took care of our kid, paid all the bills and all child-related expenses. I've also done the majority of the housework the entirety of our marriage. I feel like I have 2 kids, not a partner. Once both had passed away, my unemployed husband inherited a decent estate, and now his income is more than I earn working. We are drowning in debt because my salary was not enough to sustain us. Once the estates were settled, he put everything in a different bank and did not include me in any of it. He set up a trust for our one child, and I'm only aware of that because law dictates due to them being a minor. I had to demand a copy of our income taxes. He didn't want me to have them. That's how I discovered his inheritance income is more than I make. He refuses to help with the bills. He said all of the debt is my fault and I need to pay it off alone. While unemployed, he contributed nothing for the bills or child-related expenses. Over the last 5 years, our relationship has become untenable. The resentment I feel isn't going to resolve. I picked up a second job for a few years and wasn't able to do the housework. He didn't step up, and now the house looks like a hoarder lives here. I'm trying to catch up while working 50 hours a week. It's slow going. I know he hasn't treated mental illness and is probably a hoarder. He has no family other than myself and our child. I've contacted a lawyer and I'm ready to start proceedings. However, I feel this enormous guilt for wanting a divorce. I know it's not rational because he won't get any help. But it's there and I'm having trouble working up the courage to kick him out. I'm hoping for an amicable split, so he can still participate in holiday stuff with my family and isn't alone. I love him, but cannot live like this anymore. If you divorce, you may be able to force him to settle his half of your marital debts. That's reason enough to offload this parasite, not the a-hole. Be free. He should absolutely be on the line for half of those marital debts. OP physically and financially took care of both her husband and his child, and in doing that, allowed him to care for the family members who left the inheritance. I hope a judge would see how incredibly unfair this all is, and not allow the husband to just walk away with zero liability. Debt occurred while being married is considered marital debt, which will be split evenly. I'm not sure what your state laws state about inheritance, but if it's like many states, it is the same as winning the lottery. She's entitled to half. If he hides it during the divorce, the judge can award her all of the money if they see fit, for not disclosing it because he gained the money while married. Not the a-hole. Sounds like he hasn't been pulling his fair share. Like I said, it's supposed to be a partnership. You could give him an ultimatum first, like either you start chipping in or I'm leaving you, but definitely not the a-hole. Not trying to be offensive, but I'm dealing with a similar situation with my brother and sister-in-law. My brother is a flake and has been living off of my sister-in-law's income for a very long time. Anyway, at issue is that you have enabled him, and he's going to fight like hell to not take responsibility for himself. I would definitely contact a lawyer ASAP. Hold on to any documents you have. Write emails to him as often as possible so you can have written responses. And be prepared to dig on your heels. You've already felt sorry enough for him. He needs to grow the heck up. Yeah, kick your brother and kick out your sister-in-law for gouging your food income. Give them a legit eviction notice for 30 days. Not the a-hole. I would divorce him just to offload half of the marital debt. If you own a house, force him to buy your half of the equity and try for alimony on top of child support. Take your kid and leave him in his hoarder home. This marriage has been doomed since he lost his job. If he inherited such a sizable estate from his dad and the relatives he cared for, it means those relatives were wealthy enough to pay him for that care so that he could help support his family. He and they chose not to do that, so it was always his plan to work you to death or until you bailed. He is a sick, selfish sob.